Welcome back to the Property Finance Podcast. We are back again with another episode where we are going to be talking about networking and relationships. So this is a really big one for me. I built my entire business off networking. I was very, very lucky that from the moment I got into property 7-8 years ago, I was welcomed into a local property networking meeting in Peterborough, and just from there managed to build what I think is now quite a formidable brand. And yeah, it all came from networking. So I figured I would dedicate an entire episode to my tips and tricks about networking relationships, what to watch out for, and kind of how I've done it, and how hopefully you can kind of replicate that and hopefully build a brand and a reputation off the back of that as well. So networking wise, I really did go big really quickly in terms of what I wanted to attend. So from day one, I went to every single networking event that I possibly could. Whether there were other brokers there or not, I went. I just got in the room. And to be fair, I didn't do what everyone else does, which seems to be working the room. A lot of people will go, they'll take a big pile of business cards and they'll go, right, I'm going to go and hand one out to everyone. Business cards, as far as I'm concerned, are dead. They don't work. I have never, ever, ever gotten any business from just handing a business card to someone that I don't know. The business that we've got has purely come from referrals, and you get referrals by knowing the person at the top of the tree. And so what I would do is my tactic was always go to networking events and talk to the host. Don't talk to anyone else necessarily. Obviously, you meet people at the bar and everything else. But what I did is I would go to like PPM Peterborough, for example, and I'd connect with the host at the time. This was 7-8 years ago before Heather took over the event. And essentially what I did is I went in, sort of caught up with the host and said, right, I'm sort of new to property finance. I've not really been around for very long. Can you kind of introduce me to some people? Can you kind of help me? And he actually took it one step further. He said, well, actually, we don't have a broker here. It'd be really good if you could do a market update. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'd only been in property finance for about 2 weeks, didn't really know what I was doing. And I gave a market update, and off the back of that got some business because instantly I was pedestalized as the go-to guy. Welcome to the event, Michael. Here you go. Get up on stage, do a quick elevator pitch. And instantly everyone that was in the room looked and went, oh, okay, yeah, he knows what he's doing. And I saw something, that light bulb went off, and I thought, well, actually, okay. Went to PPN Northampton. That was my second event, and connected with Kim, who was amazing. Such a wonderful, wonderful woman who unfortunately passed away recently. But my God, she was phenomenal. One of the nicest people I've ever met in property. And she took me under her wing instantaneously, without a shadow of a doubt. And took me under her wing, took me to the front of PPN Northampton, and that was it. She, again, elevated the profile. And yeah, just sort of the knock on from that has been phenomenal. And every event I've gone to, I've always tried to network with the host first and then move it back from there. And that I have found for me has worked amazingly for the networking side of things. So my first kind of tip for networking is get in with the host and try and from there be kind of elevated to that position of, and this is more for service providers, I guess, than property investors, but be elevated to that person as the go-to in the room. The second one I would say for networking, and this is a big one, whether you're a service provider, whether you are a property investor, a developer, whatever, you need something that sets you apart. There are too many of us out there. There are too many brokers. There are too many property investors. There are too many developers. There are just too many of everything. So what I found is the minute that I niched myself as, oh, Michael deals with first-time developers, Michael does creative deals, complete game changer, without a shadow of a doubt. I am very lucky to be one of the youngest brokers on the market. And back then at 22, when I first got in, I was the youngest owner of a commercial finance brokerage. And it meant that I could just see things differently to all the other 50-year-old brokers that were out there who have been in the game for 20, 30 years, who are stuck in their ways, who can't see creativity whatsoever. They were just very vanilla deals. So having that thing that set me apart, so being creative, being someone who was willing to work with first-time developers, being someone who was willing to give my time to developers, again, from a networking perspective and from a relationship building perspective, really just pushed me to the forefront of every room that I got into. So that was another real light bulb moment was give yourself something that sets you apart from everyone else. So niche yourself and niche into something that you just know will appeal to people in the room. And yeah, creative deals is without a shadow of a doubt something that a niche that appeals to so many people, because everyone wants to do creative deals. Everyone wants to put less money into a deal. So yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, that really pushed me to the forefront of most rooms. In terms of networking as well, it's not just about networking events. Every post you put on social media, every podcast episode that you do, every YouTube video that you go on, every comment you put on social media, they're all forms of networking, because you're getting in front of people all the time. So the other thing that I did, which whether this was the right way to do it or not, I mean, it's certainly one business, but whether it was the right way to approach it, I don't know. But I got involved in loads and loads of Facebook groups. And this was, again, sort of 6-7 years ago when Facebook groups were kind of at their peak, I guess. And I used to get involved, used to put posts in there, used to get involved in commenting on stuff, used to do live videos, everything else. And just, again, tried to elevate myself to the point of being the go-to guy. So within the progressive property community, there are 20-odd thousand members in that group. And I got to the point where I was kind of the go-to guy for that group. And I think that, again, it really helped getting to know the people who owned the groups, speaking to them, saying, look, do you mind if I post in the group? Are you happy if I post this kind of content? If I post this kind of content and I win any business, are you happy to be paid referral fees? Nobody's ever said no to a referral fee yet. Can't think why. But people would look at that and they'd say, okay, yeah, actually based on what you've offered, oh yeah, we're kind of happy for you to be the group expert on X, Y, and Z. So did that in quite a few different Facebook communities. And again, it sort of snowballed out and we ended up creating our own, the Property Finance group on Facebook, which I think currently sits at like 1,500 members, developers, investors, lenders, equity partners, all sorts are in there. And yeah, it sort of built from there. So we ended up, and again, with networking events as well, we got to the point where we'd networked so much and with so many of the same people that eventually you just go, well, I'm going to set up my own networking event. So I set up PPM Monument, which was a very, very successful event. We got about 150 people, I think, on the launch event, which was back in literally the start of March, just as COVID came out. So we got 151 people in the room, and then COVID hit a couple of weeks later, which was a bit odd. So we ended up not doing it. But again, those kind of events, if you're hosting them, you're seen as the go-to, you're seen as the expert. So from a networking and relationship perspective, it's all about building yourself up from the bottom, getting in with the hosts, letting them elevate you. Then once you're elevated, then taking yourself to the next level of maybe hosting your own events, having your own Facebook group, again, elevating yourself to I own a community. And it's just about building up from there gradually. When it comes to business cards, still keep some on you, but I really would discourage people from this, what seems to be sold on all the courses of just run in a room and just plaster your business card everywhere. I don't think it works, and I don't think it's ever worked. I've never done business with anyone who's thrown me a business card, and I've never done business with anyone that I've given a business card to. It's all about the elevation. And I think if you can elevate yourself to that point of being the go-to and the expert, I think networking will become a breeze, personally. When it comes to relationships, it's all about building relationships with the right people, building relationships with people that you know, like, and trust. We all sort of have heard that phrase before, but very much you have to know them, you have to know their background, you have to know people that have worked with them before. Even when you know them, people can still surprise you. There's been a few on social media recently, people who have run away with investors' money, who I've known personally, who I thought were really, really trustworthy people, and who have ended up to be complete arseholes. And unfortunately, that is the world that we live in, is that there are people who will give off a persona to win investment and then disappear without a trace. I've had people who I've invested money in personally who, yes, it hasn't gone well, but actually they've done everything in their power to keep me updated, and who have worked with me to try and get that money back. And they're the kind of people that, okay, I won't do business with them again because obviously the money was lost, but actually I still respect them as a human being. And I still see them as a friend because actually they've taken that time to spend with me to kind of keep me updated and everything else, and haven't buried their head in the sand and disappeared. So even if you know someone, you maybe don't know them fully. You have to like them without a shadow of a doubt, because it just is a fundamental of doing a JV or building a relationship with someone. You have to like them, and you've got to trust them, and the people around you have got to trust them as well. And people who you meet at other events have got to trust them, because if there's even an element of you that says, I don't trust this person, or something just doesn't feel right, I wouldn't go into business with them. I've ignored my gut twice. And the first time I lost 25 grand, and the second time I lost 35 grand. So the 2 times I've not trusted my gut, I've lost in total £60,000. So I won't be doing that again. That was a big thing for me in building relationships, was learning to trust my gut. And without a shadow of a doubt, if anyone takes anything from this episode, it's to trust your gut and to trust people around you when they say, have you thought about that? Have you really put your mind into that? Have you looked at it from all angles? So yeah, I think trusting your gut is a massive one, without a shadow of a doubt. So hopefully those are some tips and tricks for networking and building relationships. I don't proclaim to be a sort of networking expert, and I'm certainly not an expert on relationships, but those are some tips and tricks from the things that have kind of worked for me, and some lessons that I've learned along the way, especially around relationships. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode, and I will catch you on the next one.